I think one can display things that are Chad Lee and behavior that is very Chad-like, or do something where it's like, bro, that was a Chad move. But it doesn't necessarily make one a Chad, you know? But one who is a Chad exemplifies Chad-like traits and behaviors in everything they do.
Hey, wait, that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah, open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. Hey, wait, check me out. Look, clocked in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages? Welcome back to the AOA show. I'm your host, as always, Ian, along with the boy Isaiah.
Ohio. This mic is far too.
Sorry, I was using that mic before for something. Isaiah. He's like, hi, how you doing, guys? Isaiah, part of the show here.
You're like, wait, ask me a question.
Why the chicken crossed the road?
I feel like if the chicken crossed the road, then like it'd probably be a manner of the chicken's incapability of accepting himself as a person, which is a real problem for his complex. But the more he interacts with people who really understand what's going on.
I love how your voice gets lower, like it's just quieter as you go. Anyway, we're here. We're talking about Tower of God again, going through Season 2, episodes 270 to 278. Posing the questions as usual. This is the second round of them, so for anyone that wants to participate, just ask your question in Discord, and it could pop up here like some of these people have today. So thank you to all the people in advance that did pose their question today. We'll be shouting out their names like we usually do, and we're excited to get into more TOG here. So let us do it. All right. Question numero uno comes to us from Emperor Dark North, a regular in our Discord server and YouTube channel. Says, quick thoughts on the story of Batis or Batis. How much do you think this mirrors how the 10 great families treat the rest of the tower's inhabitants? How do you think Batis relates to Fug's role on the grand scheme of the tower? So quick thoughts on the story of Batis, just to break this question down, 1, 2, 3. A couple of people made fun of me in the live stream where they goofed, and I did feel a little bad because I kind of minimized or undermined his whole big moment when he kills his wife and all that kind of stuff, and she's dying and he's I did it a little bit. I felt a little bad afterwards, but I was like, you know what it is, dude, with this guy, and it's like, I don't want to make this into some like bashing this, but it's like, for me, there really weren't many stakes with his character in particular involved, in the sense that if he dies, is going to come back. Anyone he loves, if they die, they are going to come back. He's going to be only here for this Hidden Floor arc, and maybe, presumably, he's already gone out of the picture after this whole thing went down anyway. Like, he went off with a couple of people, so I could eat my words on that. But point being is that once we get past the Hidden Floor, this guy's not coming along with us. And if he does, you got me. You know what I mean? Like, you got me. But that's really what it is. It's like, I'm just so entrenched in the story of our main characters now. Your Bomb, your Coon, your Rack, them toppling Jihad, their, fight with Rachel, all that kind of thing. Like, I'm invested in those core characters at this point. And the issue with me sometimes is when it's ambitious to have a lot of characters in your story. And if you could do it well, which SIU does really well, it's fantastic, right? Because you have so many characters to choose from, so many to love, and they each have their own distinct personalities, and you're rooting for them, right? And you're glad when they come on panel and we get to go back, right? Like, I can't wait to see Iwa again, is someone in particular. But I do have to say, when you get so many characters, when your story involves every floor being like its own world, and in this case, a literal hidden world, it's inevitable that there's going to be kind of a hierarchy of the characters that you start to care about or continue to care about. The further up the tower you go, it's kind of like burning off the dead wood. And for me, it's like my mind, and then maybe this is just because I'm stupid, but like, I'm kind of at capacity with the amount of characters that I could really care for at this point. And unfortunately, Batis just came a little too late for me to really kind of give a crap about his whole story. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I was kind of disenfranchised, like not disenfranchised, that's the wrong word, but like I was not invested in it, personally. I went off on that, sorry, but I had to explain myself. So how much do you think this mirrors how the 10 great families treat the rest of the tower's inhabitants? Yeah, I think there was a question last week. I can't remember who it was posed by, but it was talking about how the hidden floor is like a micro level of the tower. It was like,
yesterday.
Was it yesterday too?
Initial discussion.
Okay. Yeah. There's been questions that relate to that. And yeah, I think that if they were entrenched in this mindset when they were, right, where it's like we're going to get away from everyone's going to do their own thing, we're going to do our own thing, and you guys are kind of peasants, it definitely is on a larger scale now in terms of the tower, and that's what we're going to stop, right? So this is just a small taste of that, but the real thing will be to get some of the answers to questions we might have had on some of these characters and what they thought back in the day and how those perspectives might change when we find them in the future, or leaving like breadcrumbs to our main characters such as Bomb. Now we're about to meet Kuhn's father. So depending on where his allegiances lie, we're going to, we might get breadcrumbs for Kuhn, to take a certain path to follow. So they're a little more prepared when they get up there. So I think this is just a microcosm of the larger things at play here. And how do you think Batis relates to Fug's role on the grand scheme of the tower? I don't know. I guess it's that, I don't know if the question is posed in such a way that Batis represents Fug in the sense that he wants to fight this pre-established order of what's going down, right? He wants to kind of change it. He wants to be an outcast in the sense that he knows that the way they conduct things are wrong and he wants to put a change to it. I'm assuming that's what it is, because unless I missed something, I don't think he has like a direct role with Fug besides the fact that he's with Han Sung, but I don't think we have enough info to even know if Han Sung's part of Fug yet. You might be Viol. Like, there's just too much information missing to know if Batis has like an actual role with Fug beyond the hidden floor or whatever. So I don't want to go too far and look stupid in that one. But I think if you're creating parallels, then it makes sense, right? That he wants to be this someone who goes against this pre-established order, especially in his case, it's even worse, right? Because you get certain characters that want to go against the grain and they might acquire the abilities to do so right down the course of their journey, but it definitely seems like a tall order for this guy, being that he is a NPC essentially, like in this world. So it's like literally at the discretion of the big breeders, they can kind of just tamper with him like on a dime, like they're gods. So he's got a lot to go up against here. I don't know how he's going to do it besides Big Breeder being once again arrogant and being like, oh, I actually gave you the bullets this time that are going to kill me, etc. So anyway, I don't know. Those are all my thoughts on Batis. What do you think?
So I'm actually going to start going backwards. So what do I think about Batis' relationship or role on the grand scheme of the tower? I do actually think there could be some interesting parallels to draw where, so for starters, I do think Han Sung is working with Fug in some way. I don't think he's like the guy that runs Fug, or even answers to like the elders or anything, but I do think he is aligning with Fug. And I do think it's because of his meeting of somebody like Batis back on the hidden floor, because we know that Han Sung, does still, or at least probably retains that information that he got on the hidden floor. I think that was the inspiration for him to align himself with a group like Fug. I think he sees a lot of, because I do think there are parallels between Batis's stance as a character and Fug. I mean, like you said, they're literally, Fug is Batis on a large scale. Batis is an NPC, just a cog in the system that is defective, but understands and like feels that defectiveness is what makes him unique. It's what makes him different. It's what makes him, human, right? And so like for Batis in his mind, he's like, well, if being defective is what makes me human, if going against the will of the big breeders and, whoever's in charge here, if going against the grain is what makes me defective, then I want to be defective forever. And I think young Han Sung, I think even if he didn't like realize it or like necessarily want to, was influenced by that, because I mean, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just speaking out of personal, like it's a very inspiring aspiration. It's a very inspiring ideology to live by. And I think somebody like young Hansung, again, could have been influenced even enough if it was Hansung going from a very like self-serving way of thinking in his life in his younger years, has now, older Hansung is much more understanding of the big picture and of who the real fight here is against. And it's Jihad and everybody else. And I think, Hansung, having seen the kind of thing, again, being from the hidden floor, the kind of thing that Jihad's empire can do to people, good people, made him want to take a stand in some way, shape, or form. And I think that way now is through Bam or through Viol. And then going back to the first part, what do I think about Beta's story? I really like it. I do think that this story suffers, for me, of what you were talking about, but I personally felt more of that on the Floor of Death, like with the Hell Joe stuff. And not to say that I'm like ready to take a bullet for Batis or like jump out or in front of a train, but I did like his character, and I do like, again, like I said in the first part of my thing, I do like his story. It is very inspiring, this idea of like fighting against rebellion at all cost, even if the odds are heavily stacked against you. Like, that's all the more reason why you should fight, instead of being like, well, the chips are so out of my favor, like what's even the point? Because again, I feel like you don't lose when you get knocked down, you lose when you don't get back up. So it's like, if you just give up and quit because things are too hard or nearly impossible, you never know, you're not going anywhere. So I do like it. It's not a story I've never heard before, but it is, I don't think that necessarily takes away from the impact. I do like his character. It is a little weird. I don't know, weird. Like the idea that you were saying before, where it's like, okay, virtually most of these characters, barring anybody that we meet who's a younger data version of themselves, we're probably not gonna see again, right? Obviously, the young data versions have older equivalents that will meet, going further up the tower, but we're probably not going to see Batis again. We're probably not going to see Rose, I think was his wife's name, and then that chick who's always shouting Chief and Warrior and whatnot. They probably start and stop here. So it's definitely less of an impact, I guess, than like some of the characters that we've met that we see repeatedly. But I did like it ultimately, and I do think that it's good. In the vein of storytelling, for our main cast to see this kind of stuff, right? Well, again, whether it's Batis and all the stuff on the hidden floor with the NPCs and the breeders, or we're talking about the name hunt station with Kaiser and how she treated, like, it's good to be reminded of, on every scale, no matter how small, the kind of harm that Jihad's mentality and his empire and his way of thinking, what it does to every like average ordinary people.
Well said, friend. That's all I got. You got the next question.
Yes, I do. All right, so next question comes from Irene Sharda. They say, do you think that Hansung knew V personally, or did he only hear about him? And how does that change your perspective of him and his actions during season 1, knowing that he knew that he knew already about V and possibly/probably Bam's connection to him? Do I think I do think that Hansung knew V personally. I don't know if it was like they were super tight and super close, but I do think he knew him because, again, when he references when the scene happens with Bam opening the door in the fruit, Hansung's obviously impressed that like his hunch, so to speak, was right, that like they needed someone like Bam. But he specifically calls him V. And so I wonder if like what Bam did or the way Bam is, like just in that moment sort of like really joggled his memory and like made it like literally reminded him of V or something that V would do. Because again, I do think like Hansung, it's actually funny. The more that I think about it and the more we talk about these questions and we get into the story, because I gotta be real, when we started Tower God, Hansung was very like an off-note character for me. I was like, all right, he's kind of cool, he's got the whole cocky thing, but I really didn't think twice about him. But the more that we are learning about him, the more I'm actually really liking his character, because at least again, and personally in my head, he's got such a clear arc where he's going from this guy who was incredibly self-serving and incredibly gifted, but like bored of that gift, right? Especially in relation and in comparison to all the other kinds of people he's met in the tower. And then you have that moment where you start to think, you're like, oh, actually, I think he's got a pretty good head on his shoulders, though. And then the snake charmer sort of hits him with that, like, you're not, like, that's not what you're about, though. Like, you could sit here and lie to me, but, like, the truth is you're just out here for points. You're out here to look nice. You're out here to play this game, but you don't actually give a damn about anybody but yourself. And so, again, meeting people like Batis, meeting people like Bam on the hidden floor, meeting people like V, I think slowly but surely, whether he's wanted to or not, Han Sung has been inspired to, like, do something different with his life than just make sure he is the best, or that he is the one on top, or he gets what he wants. Because I think on some level he's realized that, like, this fight isn't about him. If he gets what he wants, yeah, cool, he's good. But what about the tower? What about the rest of the people? What about all these people he's met and that he's seen fight this fight in spite of what happens to them, right? I think that's what's so great about Batis. It's not necessarily like his character is so, like, you know, fundamental to the story, but again, it's just that message. It's this idea that, like, if you're not willing, an idea or a goal that you're fighting for innately should mean less to you if you're not willing to stake everything, even your life, on it. And it shouldn't be something that's like something that only satisfies you or only gives you a leg up. So I do think that he knew V on some level. I think that through meeting V and again, Batis and just all the stuff, he has slowly, I think that's part of what made him maybe even agree to go along with this plan of keeping Bomb, you know, with Fug and training him. Because again, it's like it's like the super jerk mentor who's like a dick to the student, but like does actually help and teach him how to survive on his own type beat. The only thing I can think of is, I don't know, you know Daredevil, like from Marvel Comics? Mm-hmm. Stick, his mentor.
Yes.
That's the relationship I think about, where it's like they hate each other, but like for all intents and purposes, Stick did teach Matt Murdock how to fight and how to survive. And like that's what I see a lot in Bam and Han Sung. And it's like Han Sung, again, this turnaround or inspiration he's had isn't going to make him like this super likable guy. It's not going to turn him into like, oh, I'm all happy and like everybody, you know, like he's still a dick and he's still cocky and he's still arrogant and he's still Han Sung, but he's Han Sung fighting for a different purpose. He's fighting for something bigger than himself. And I think that is inspiration through V. I think when he sees Bam, he sees another shot. He sees a shot at actually getting to help do something that maybe he didn't get. Maybe when V tried to do this fight, Han Sung backed out. Maybe he got scared, right? Maybe he was like, all right, I see what you're trying to do here, but like, I'm not about this. This isn't me. And maybe he feels a little bit guilty learning that V was dead, especially if he heard that V killed himself. You know what I mean? Like all these things where it's like, I think there's a lot more weighing on Han Sung than obviously he's willing to show. Yeah, that's my answer.
It was a good answer at that. I really couldn't add too much more except for my opinion on whether he met V or not. And I think that if he met him, it's like more of a thing in passing, right? I don't think it was something where it was like they were good friends. Because I feel like he would have made that connection a little sooner in regards to Bomb. So I think that my gut is telling me that he hasn't actually met him. I think that he's just heard of him because of what was passed down through Fug and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, going forward, I'm curious to get more information on Han Sung just in general, like what the hell's going on with you, dude? You know, like, who'd you know? Like, just tell us, you know? So I think that is one of the things that I'm most interested to see in this arc is not just Han Sung, but Han Sung in particular would be, you know, a good one among many other characters that we have already met. And now seeing their younger versions is like, oh, this is how you got to where you were. Why? You know? So that's what I'm curious about. But anyway, moving on to the next question. We have by Lupitai, I believe, Lupittii or AI. Close enough. Let me know if I was wrong if you're watching this. If so, I apologize. Says, what do you think about there being a virtual world in another? A hidden floor, or a hidden floor. Breeders treat data humans as trash, but they are also data humans themselves. What does this say about them? Well, I'll tell you what, I've been watching a lot of Attack on Titan lately, and we have a similar scenario in that, and what I'm noticing is that people, regardless if they're the same, right, and this just goes for humanity, will find a reason, unfortunately, to hate someone, whether it is a difference in opinion, whether it is ideals, whatever. Take your pick, right? Someone's going to find it. Be like, your eyebrows look funny. That's it. Done. I'm Xing you out of my life, right? This is just the way of humanity. This is just the way of the world. And I say that begrudgingly. I don't say that as in like you should just accept that per se. But unfortunately, that is the world that we live in right now. So being that SIU, a human being, has wrote this story, it does not surprise me that this is the scenario we find ourselves in, especially with the 10 great families and such, right? I will also defer back to the question we had yesterday in which I discussed, and yesterday meaning our previous discussion on this, where I did discuss the fact that there are certain people that sometimes transcend others so much so in a particular field or just scale of power or understanding knowledge that it does make it pretty difficult for those people to relate to the people that are under them. And I say under with quotes because they're not literally under them, but I just mean in that particular skill or talent or whatever the case might be. Now, you sprinkle on a little bit of arrogance with that and disdain or judgment for people that are lower, then you have a recipe for this, what we see here, the hidden floor. And that's just what happens. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me in terms of the question, right? What does it say about them? It just says that they're they're people, right? At the end of the day. So, but it is kind of interesting, that we're in like an Inception style thing because I've really never seen a story do this where it's like, here's VR. Here's VR in VR. That blew my mind. I'm not going to lie at first because I'm like, no, they're doing this? That's ambitious. Like, that's some crazy stuff, Last thing I saw did something like that was like Inception. You're in a dream. And that blew my mind. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, I definitely wasn't seeing that coming. That's for certain. So I don't know. I think it's kind of cool that they have that element to it. They kind of got to dig deeper, like in a world. Hopefully it just doesn't go down like 3 other floors because then we're just like, why are we not just here instead of the tower? We could spend half the story here, but I don't think that'll be the case. But I am curious to see how the other side lives in the hidden floor, and all that kind of stuff. But
so what do I think about the virtual world in another world? I think, like you were saying, mirroring a lot of your thoughts, I do think it's cool. I definitely think it's ambitious because you can get into a lot of like Inception level, like, wait, what did he go? And so, okay, he's from this world, but not that stuff. But SIU does have a habit of, and a good habit of taking like world problems and conflicts and condensing them into this tower, right? And on certain floors and stuff. And so I do think, like you're saying, this does mirror just a very common problem with humanity, which is that like give humanity an open space to live and prosper, and they will turn it into a battlefield given enough time. They will find reasons to fight over it. They will find things to bicker about. They will pick out differences of it, and before you know it, we have a small chaotic ecosystem of subjugation and all that stuff. So, I do think this is an interesting spin on it because, I don't know, to me, one of my favorite kinds of anime are isekai anime, and it is because of the level of like escapism. It's the idea that like you can go into this world that is a blank canvas and make it whatever you want, and like insert yourself into this idealized role or just go into this idealized world, and have fun and sort of like turn your brain off from the real world that's full of problems and stuff, and just go in. But so that's kind of what I love, that like in the classic sort of isekai twist or reverse, I love that he's doing this. He's taking this idea, the virtual world where it's like, yeah, you could be whatever you want. You could like, go into this crazy fantasy world where like there's dudes walking down the street singing, and you can take on all kinds of quests with like friends and stuff. But we still have like hatred and bigotry and all that stuff here. I mean, it's a world, and it's like, this idea that like you can't, while escapism in small quantities is nice, and sometimes people just need it, quite frankly, escapism in small sections is the key word there, right? Going into a world with an idea that like your old problems are just going to go away is not possible, right? Because, your problems follow you. If you run away from them, they do not just go away. They will follow you anywhere. So, on some level of that, in some manner of speaking, I believe that's what he's doing here, and I do like that. The hidden and floor breeders, it's interesting, and it is very parallel to humanity, because it's like these breeders aren't even like, it's not even like real people came in here and they're like, huh, look at all these not humans, let's fucking subjugate the hell out of them. It's like, nope, they're data people too. They're just like, it's literally Attack on Titan, where it's like you don't actually have any valid claim to why you believe yourself to be above these people. It's all here. It's all in their heads. And it's like, Jihad and the 10 family heads. I wouldn't be surprised to meet Jihad even at the data version that we'll end up meeting. And I wouldn't be surprised for him to be somewhat in the mindset that he is, that current Jihad is, where it's like, but I am better than them. But why wouldn't I do this? I am above them. Like I could do anything. I could kill. I have more power than anybody here. Like, why wouldn't I use it? Type thing. And it's like, obviously that's wrong, but I guess like that's the point, right? Because we know that by the time Jihad had met the God of Guardians, which is what we learned from him talking with Bam, Jihad was very much sort of already going down this path where he was like, no, I don't really care about all the semantics. I want power. I want enough power to be able to do what I want. I want enough power to be able to stomp on anybody who tells me that I can't do what I want, so that I can make everybody happy. But I believe that like Jihad wanting everybody to be happy means through subjugation, right? It doesn't actually mean he wants people to be happy or prosper by their own means or what have you, because the tower exists. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. All right, so moving on to the next question, we have from Sad Sparkles. They say, what do you think about Rachel wanting to meet her companions as soon as she wakes up? Is it only because she needs them in order to seek Jihad, or is it maybe that she cares for Yura? And then he puts in parentheses, even while typing this question, I thought, is she capable of having such feelings? Is her apathy that strong that she only cares about her goals and nobody else? But it's Rachel, so and as an afterthought, where are Yura, Joaquin, and Traveler? What do you think happened to them? What stories / sworn enemies could they have? All right, yeah, we'll just start from the beginning here. What do I think about Rachel wanting her to meet her companions as soon as she wakes up? I do think it's pretty self-centered, and it is pretty much like, I can't take on Jihad by myself, so like, gotta get the crew involved. I don't really think there's a whole lot more in there. I was actually having this weird thought while we were reading this in the latest chapters. Perhaps there is a scenario that this hidden floor thing works out in which Rachel does end up gaining some apathy for Yura, and I'm gonna say Yura. I think it'd be a stretch that like her whole crew, but I could definitely see something happening just between her and Yura. But I don't know. I do think, even as this question says, it's pretty far-fetched, at least from what we know about Rachel so far. She's shown literally no signs of any sort of self-introspection or any of that stuff. So I don't know. It's unlikely. And as an afterthought, where Yura, Joaquin, Traveler, what do you think happened to them? Who could their stories' sworn enemies be? I don't know. The where are they is definitely an interesting question, because let's put it this way. The story has a habit of being like taking these huge cast of characters and like once they throw them into a new floor, they're like, all right, you go this way, you go that way, and you go this way, and like just chucking them all corners. And like I don't know, quite frankly, I don't know how well the hidden floor works to be like, oh, well, obviously they're in this part of the hidden floor because they could not be. Why the fuck did Rachel end up in the big breeder's bed? I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know where they could be. They're somewhere on the hidden floor. Maybe they got automatically sent to the, well, no, because I don't think you would automatically get sent to the hidden floor. Because I think that's like, you have to, because as far as the people on the hidden floor are concerned, that place is not supposed to exist. You know what I mean? That's kind of the whole big breeder's job. So I don't know where they could be. They're somewhere on the hidden floor, really. That's all I know. Yura, I don't even know if it's fair to say that they're together, right? I mean, because I don't know what the stipulations are for splitting them up or whatever. For as far as sworn enemies, Yura, I don't know, actually, because I'm going to be honest, we don't really know, I don't know enough about Yura's character to know if she like really has any qualms with where her life is, you know, like to me, and fair enough, you could say the hidden floor will just invent somebody for her, and that could just be the idea of whatever she considers an obstacle, and that's fine. But I quite frankly don't think that's as fun and interesting as if it's some way to conflict with her ideology. But I don't know when, so something I think about that's so interesting about the sworn enemy thing is that it feeds off of the complexes that some of these characters have. And Dorsey with it being the snake charmer, Bam with it being himself, you know what I mean? But I don't know that like Yura has enough conflict in her mind about what she's doing or where she is to be so that if she was presented with that she would actually like care or reflect on it. Because she seems to have the same goal as Rachel, but like we've established with Rachel, like that goal is pretty vague in itself. It's like, I want to see the stars. I want to get to the top of the tower. It's like, okay, but like, why? Like, you know what I mean? What does that mean? Like, why are you know? So I don't really know about Yura. I'm going to leave a question mark on that one. Joaquin, 100%, I think it's his dad. Like 100%. I think his sworn enemy is his father because that's his literal sworn enemy. It's either like, it's either his dad or his siblings. Because I think Joaquin is a man that is quite literally cursed and plagued by his family and by his past. And, you know, in some weird, fucked up, twisted way is doing all the things he's doing to escape that, to prove that, like, he's not just some useless speck on the, you know, in existence that, like, doesn't matter to anybody. He's like, no, I can be the head of the family if I want to. I can be, like, you know, and obviously his dad is, not supportive of, you know, of his existence, quite frankly, whatsoever. So, you know, he's gone a much darker, twisted route to prove that. But like, I guess that's the point, is that I think, you know, if the hidden floor again is showing these characters in the realms of like, oh, presenting them with an obstacle that they have to overcome, or an idea that challenges the way they think and view the tower or the world, who better for Joaquin, other than I guess Bam, than the person who like started his whole thing, you know. And that's why I think Coons is going to be somebody from his. I think this whole thing is designed, obviously, in terms of the hidden floor to balance out the scales. But for the characters, it's development, right? It's to get them to talk, open up, interact with these characters that mean so much to them, whether it's positively or negatively. And I've got no fucking clue what's going on with the Traveler, dude. I don't know where he's going to be. I don't know how much longer he's going to be in the story. I don't know a single thing about that dude other than he wanted to talk to Emily. Because he signed on with Castro, dude, and I literally feel like he is the guy who like signed the bill to work with them, and they're like, all right, cool, hop on board. And ever since he got on board, he's like, guys, this is kind of like a lot. Like, I just thought like we were gonna like hang out, maybe like rob a bank. Like, we're kind of like doing a lot. Like, but he's just been like pulled along by his coattails and like forced into all these circumstances, because every time we see him, bro, it's literally him just getting like roped in with like Yura and company or whatever. And I'm like, this poor fucker, dude, literally came here or like got up, whatever, to like save Emily, and is now just in this fucking, you know, he's in this wheel, bro. And I don't know if it, like, honestly, his sworn enemy is gonna be some dude who's like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? And like, go home. But that's my thoughts.
You hit a lot of those. So I mirror thoughts of the Traveler. What are you doing? You know what I mean? I feel like you just took a wrong turn in Albuquerque, and now he's just like, I'm with this ragtag group of folks. This guy killed 1 billion people. This guy's, you know, here and doing something. This blonde girl's crazy. Like, yeah, no, he's just in the thick of it now, though. It's too late. So he's like, I guess we're going. But I do agree with you with White, his enemy, that is, or Joaquin's, that it's got to be his father. If it's not, I mean, I don't know what else you'd want me to guess. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. It's like,
I'm like, bam.
Yeah, because sometimes like these questions get posed, or these in particular, and they're like, who do you think it's going to be? And it's like, well, realistically, I could only say that it's going to be his dad or anyone that we've met that he's fought. Like, and Dorsey, I never would have guessed it was Orochimaru. You know what I mean? Like, as her enemy, because why would you expect me to guess that? It's not that you are, but just saying, with that being said, definitely think it's his father. I can't see anyone else, you know, that we've met so far. Karaka's an interesting one. I don't know who his nemesis would be. I don't know if it is potentially someone like Jin Sung-ha, where it's like, oh, he couldn't get out under the thumb type thing, because it kind of seems like he's being loud and rowdy sometimes, and Jin Sung just comes and goes, sit down, you know what I mean, and just like smacks him down in his chair. But maybe not. It's probably a loose one.
Real quick, I could see it being, you know how Wang Nan had explained to Karaka his whole backstory? Whoever the figure, because so in my running theory, you're not going to tell me I'm wrong. Wang Nan's Jahat's son. That's what we're running with, and so is Karaka, as far as I'm concerned. But I don't think that I think it's literally a scenario of Jihad is both of their fathers, but they have different mothers. So I think whoever, and not saying that woman that raised Wang Nan is his mom, but my point in this is that whoever like was with Karaka in his early years, whoever raised him, like I think there was some figure in his early formative years that like made him realize like sort of the twisted opposite of Wang Nan, where with Wang Nan was like, all right, then I'm going to, like, if this is how this happened, if this is what you think, I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving to you and everyone that, like, I am worth something and I can be this prince. Where I think somebody probably tried to, like, take advantage of Karaka because of his, situation or because of who they thought he was. And so Karaka very much is like, no, that's it. I'm out here for me. Like, I'm not fucking with these people who, like, are just trying to use me or whatever. And that whoever his sworn enemy is, like, the same person, like, that was for Wang Nan, but like in a twisted reverse way. You know what I mean? Where it's like, instead of the person that gave Wang Nan the motherly support to sort of be a kind, open-hearted person, like this is the person that's probably responsible for like how Karaka turned out, at least in his early years.
Yeah, no, that's some good stuff. And I think to answer the first question, because I've been going from the bottom up here, so I actually do think that Rachel slightly cares about Yura. And I know we don't want to give her any points in her corner, but I think that because of how she yells for Yura specifically and says, I got to find Yura when she does eventually take her VR form. Now that could just be because Yura is so attached with her, but I feel like sometimes it's, unless you just don't have emotions at all, the more time you spend with someone that is there for you, it's almost inevitable that you're going to wind up forming an attachment to that person in some way, shape, or form, or maybe like them a little more. Unless again, you're like a sociopath and you don't care at all, which I actually don't think Rachel is, which is why I think the people that like her say, hey, she's an interesting character, is because it's not so black and white. She's not just like, I'm the villain, like straight up, I'm going to kill everyone, like whatever. There's a lot of internal conflict from what we've seen. It's just she always chooses to go down the wrong path, unfortunately, so that side of her always wins. But I do think, with that being said, that she's not like outright crazy person or something like that. I do think that it's only natural that she would want to have a friend in this world and not want to feel absolutely lonely. Now, whether Rachel's going to, if it comes to it, throw Yura under the bus, she probably will. Yeah, but I do think that there's this weird messed up thing where it's like you could still care for someone and then still throw them under the bus to then to go in pursuit of whatever goal Rachel deems higher than that. I mean, take Bomb, for instance. I think, and I kind of stand by this, is that I don't think that Rachel just doesn't give an absolute damn, but I think that unfortunately her snake side always reigns victorious when it comes to that. So I do think that she likes Yura. So I do think that is out of, I don't think compassion's the right word, but just out of like the sense of loneliness that she wants her. White and the other ones, she doesn't care. She needs them to, because they're super powerful. So she needs them to help her climb the tower. So that's my opinion. But anyway, moving on to what I believe is the last question is by Big Dumbass. Thank you, Big Dumbass. Says, how good looking is Eduan compared to everyone that you've met so far? Number one. And number two, we know he's a Chad, but how much of a Chad is he? Kun family is the biggest family out of the 10 in terms of numbers. Yeah, so he probably is, I would say, in terms of males, I think he is the best looking male we've seen so far. I think. I don't know. I'm trying to think of anyone else that stacks up against him in terms of just like raw aesthetic, like personality wise and stuff. You could be like, oh, well, I like this person more because they are this way. But just in terms of like aesthetically, you're the best looking. I think it's implied that, and like just by looking at him, like the guy he's a good looking dude. I do think I think he is the best looking dude we've seen yet. Yeah, I don't know. That's my answer. Going with it. I'm digging the whole like Greek god attire thing too. You know, he's based off Dionysus. Like the guy's, he's living, bro. And we know he's a Chad, but how much of a Chad? He's an uber Chad, bro. He's a mega uber super duper Chad because, you know, I could go into this whole philosophical breakdown of like, what is a Chad? You know, and I will slightly because I have fun doing that. So if your definition of a Chad is like the stereotypical version of a Chad, right? Where they're just like, oh, they're going around sleeping with all these women or whatever the case might be. And like, maybe they're a little bit of a dick. You know what I'm saying? They don't really care. Then yeah, that's what it is, right? That's who he is. But I mean, like if you're saying a Chad is also someone that's like, you know, also respectable, like kind of has an air around them where it's like you respect them for more than just that, then maybe he's not a Chad. I don't know. But I'm now breaking down what it means to be a Chad, but I don't know what it means to be a Chad. So Isaiah, what is your definition of a Chad? Like, are they just a dick through and through? Or are they just this? Is that something to aspire to? Is that something you want to avoid? Tell me.
So I'm gonna start at the top here with this question, because number one, damn, is this man good looking? Like, damn, like. No hard feelings to Kune A, who I still believe is like here, neck and neck. But
you know what kills me? I have to say real quick. You know what kills me for Kun, as if we're comparing him to his father right now in terms of like. So, all right, let's be honest. Their design is practically identical besides the clothes that they're wearing and the way they wear their hair. But I think that, and to be fair, actually, his father's eye, we see his one eye, is actually like has this crystallized blue. So there's that. So I do think he edges him out. But the main thing, bro, I don't understand why Kun just didn't keep his hair back, like, or slicked. I like Kun's style so much more when it's slicked to the side or pulled back in like bun mode, or not bun, but like in you know, in that thing. I can't jive with this hairstyle that he rocks all the time, where it's just like flat. You know what I'm saying? He just like, it's like he takes a straightener and just goes down like this, and it drives me nuts because I'm like, bro, you got beautiful hair. You have beautiful hair. You are blessed to have like great attributes all around, and it's like, yeah, your drip is good sometimes, but it's like you're not taking the full advantage here of like what you have. Like that difference to me between down and pulled back, like he goes from like a 7 to a 10 immediately in terms of like in his looks, or slick to the side. He looks suave as hell when it's slick to the side, but it's just like, you know what I mean? Just down. And his father knows what's up because he's got that straight up like, oh, you know what I mean? Like type thing where he just like pulls it back and he's just like, and he could just do this or whatever, and his hair just, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. That's my thing, bro. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm wrong in a sense. I definitely do think Kun gets much more points when his hair is styled up, as opposed to like just, you know, flat out. But this is weird because this is where like the personality aspect comes into it, and I'm like, it's part of what I love about Kun is that like he's almost effortlessly beautiful. Like he doesn't have to try. Like he literally rolls out of bed and he's like, yeah, what up? And like, and like, cause I mean, his dad, you know that all that nigga's doing is rolling out of bed and putting a ponytail up. Yeah, I do whatever you want. Tell me what to do. And it's like that, like, yeah, they're just blessed with good genetics. They don't even have to try. Like any of that stuff he does is a bonus. But yeah, so Kun Iden obviously is a beautiful. I think that this was one, you know, one of the things a while ago. Well, I forget what floor part of the story, but they were like, oh, on the hidden floor, like rumor has it that like the most beautiful man. I don't know if they said the most beautiful man and the most beautiful woman, or if they said, or if they just tell every man that the most beautiful woman is there.
Yeah, because at first they say woman, and then who's ever conversating with them says, oh, I heard it's a man, and then someone else or something says that, well, actually, depending on who you ask, that's what it is.
Depending on who you are.
Yeah, like something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So, it got me curious, as I was like, okay, is there a female counterpart to Eden that's chilling on the floor? Where is she at? What's going on? But I'm gonna be honest. If not, I'll just take Eden. I'm good with both. I'm good with him taking both roles. I'm whatever, man. I'm good. So that's that, and you know, you can hear more about that in my fan fiction I'll write later. But next part of the question is he a Chad? How much of a Chad is he? Yeah, he's a Chad. Because I think to be honest, I think a Chad is. I think one can display things that are Chad-ly and behavior that is very Chad-like, or do something where it's like, bro, that was a Chad move. But it doesn't necessarily make one a Chad, you know? But one who is a Chad exemplifies Chad-like traits and behaviors in everything they do. And I feel like if we're talking about like a Kun or a Bam or even like a Wang Nan, like they all have Chad moments, right? They all have things that they've done where you're like, damn, that is a Chad fucking play, my Pog champ nigga. Like, yes. But I feel like Kun Eden never has a not Chad moment. Like everything he does gets the point further across at exactly how big of a Chad he is because he can't help it. I feel like his personality, his style of, you know, who he is just very like, there's not a single sentence that I will say to you. There's not a single movement that I will make with my body that will not tell you, A, how much of a Chad I am, and B, how less of a Chad you are than me just by talking to me. Because that's who I can't, I don't think he can help it. I think he's such a Chad. Like, this is one of the niggas who wrote the book on what being a Chad is. He told the author what to write. He sat there eating his grapes, and the author's like, this look good? And he was like, yeah. Like, because this dude, just off that, like, interaction, like, which was virtually nothing, was him laying back, eating grapes, and someone gets on his pocket, and they're like, yo, somebody's, like, here, they came in, and he's like, really? It's like, this man doesn't give a fuck about anybody else, what anybody wants, what anybody likes, what anybody's doing, like, before himself. Everything is what Kun Eden wants, and then maybe if it's a good day, like what someone else wants. Like this man is, and to be clear, I do think that means he's probably the pinnacle of a dick, but he's also the pinnacle of a Chad.
So I have to ask you then, what is your definition of a Chad? So you kind of answered it in that explanation there in a sense, but I'm curious to get a definitive on that. Like, what is it when someone says that guy's a Chad or that person's a Chad or that when someone did something Chadly, what is it like? What is that definition to you? That's what I'm curious about.
I believe that it's somebody who believes that their wants and desires come first and come before anybody or anything else. And if you're not always doing something to exude, to get what you want or exude and let other people know that what you want is like what should be priority, then like you're not doing enough or you're not doing anything. I believe it's kind of the definition of Dionysus, like, you know what I mean? Like that, like just of that mindset where it's like, no, I'm out here to fuck around. I'm out here to have fun. I'm out here to have a ton of sex and eat a lot of food and like just play. The world is my playground and I'm here to play. I don't care about rules. I don't care about politics. I'm just here to have a good time and I'm going to like just do whatever I want at the expense of other people and maybe even myself, right? Because like that's the other thing is like with somebody like Kun Eden, and we see it in someone like Kun Eden probably doesn't have a lot of niggas that are willing to take a bullet for him because he's probably got a lot of enemies, like a lot. But they're probably all people who are in lesser, states or whatever of power than he is. And that's the point, is that like he doesn't have a lot of friends, but he almost like doesn't care. You know what I mean? It's Chad is just through and through somebody who does not care about anything or anyone before themselves.
That was fantastic, and that made my day. Just to hear that, I had to know. I was just curious. Now I'll know moving forward if you call someone a Chad. Like, I get it. But anyway, folks, those are the questions that we had today. That is our discussion. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I know I sure did, especially that last part. Make sure if you guys do enjoy the content today that you are liking this video, you're subscribing to the channel, hitting that notification bell if you're new here. Share with your friends because the more the merrier, and comment your thoughts down below. What did you think of our discussion? What did you think of the questions posed? What is a Chad to you? Let us know. We'll know that you made it to the end of this video if you put what a Chad is to you. This is what a Chad is to me. And then comment whatever you want beyond that. If you want us to read it, maybe we'll read it. Who knows? Got to comment, though. Beyond that, thank you to our patrons as well. I want to also have a huge shout out to our Acolyte of Anime tier patrons, which would include Stoic and Nathan. So thank you very much for your support of the channel. And make sure you guys are getting your AOA merch. It is going to be going back to its normal price after January. So for the remainder of January, you get 20% off of every single AOA item in the store, whether it is a hoodie, whether it is a shirt, whether it's a fanny pack, a pillow, a blanket, leggings, joggers, you name it, it's there. 20% off. Just type in the code AOA 2021 at checkout. Again, that's AOA 2021 at checkout to get 20% off of your order. But until next time, folks, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you on the flip. Peace.
Peace.
Ninjas are samurais, blaze of the kunais. Find me in the leaf of the cloud, screaming out Bankai. We just some ghouls though, who like seeing parts fly.